This video is going to show you 5 easy, instant ways that you can book more meetings so that you can sign more clients for your agency. And this is coming from someone who couldn't book a single meeting for the first 7 months of running their agency, let alone signing a client. And then getting to the point where we've helped over 70 agencies build out these acquisition systems so that they can add an extra 10, 20, 50, even $100,000 per month to their monthly revenue. And these are the same acquisition systems that I use to grow a 50K per month agency within 90 days of launching. So if you're in a situation now where you're struggling to book meetings, maybe you're trying cold email, maybe you're trying outreach, or you're just getting on sales calls, but you just can't convert them. Maybe prospects, they don't want to sign up, they need to think about it, they need to talk to their partners. If you're in any of these situations, whether you're just starting out with your agency, whether you've been running for 5 years, every single method that I'm going to talk about now is brand new. It's used in 2024. It's updated, and it will instantly get you better results for whatever you're doing right now. Now, the first way is called short form nurturing. So I want to tell you a quick story of how you can use this. It's actually not a business example. So a few weeks ago, I was talking to a girl on WhatsApp, and what happened was we were having the conversation, and let's say, one day she just didn't reply for let's say 12 hours. And what happened was I started posting on Instagram like normal, posting on the stories. And what happened was, as soon as I posted, within 5 minutes, she would reply. I was like, okay, this is a weird coincidence. So then after that, we were talking, I ended up seeing her, we're talking again, and then again, 12 hours later, she doesn't reply. And then the same situation. I post again on my story, she ends up replying within 10 minutes of me posting, right? And then it happened again. And this isn't some random person, this is someone I know. So it would happen, we would talk, again, 12 hours, 24 hours, whatever, then I'd post, and then as soon as I post, she'd end up replying. And the weird thing is, I was seeing the same thing happen in the business. So I would be having a conversation with a prospect, right? And let's say it was on LinkedIn. And, I would send the Calendly link, saying the time for them to book a meeting. And what happened was, I'd send it, they wouldn't book, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? And then I'd be posting content because I post every single day on there. And then they would reply and say, oh, I just saw it, sorry about this, I was busy. So every single time this would happen was we'd have the conversation, they'd go ghost, I'd start posting, they'd see my stuff, then they'd reply again. And what I learned from this was that people are interested. They want to book a time, they want to go further in the actual, sales process. But what happens is they just forget. It's that simple. They just forget. And because of that, they need to be constantly reminded. And this is why people do follow-ups. They need to be constantly reminded to get back into the process. So obviously you can say, hey, do you see my message? Hey, do you see my message? But honestly, you don't really want to be following up. It seems, a bit needy to actually do that. So 1, 2 follow-ups, anything beyond that is kind of pushing. So what you want to do for this point, short-term nurturing, is use platforms, firstly, where you can nurture prospects. And usually these are social platforms. So if you're doing outreach, if you're trying to book meetings, you can use platforms like LinkedIn, like Facebook, like Instagram to reach out to prospects. And when you post content, this is your form of nurturing. So in the same way, if you've had a conversation via email or someone books a meeting, you can put them into your email list and send them daily messages every single day. So by designing your system in a way where you can get people into your funnel, and every time you post, every time you broadcast something, they see it, the likelihood that they're going to book in is so much higher. Because essentially every single piece of content is a follow-up for you. Now, the next tip to sign more clients is called long-term conversion. So when I was first running the business, I was helping marketing agencies to get clients using appointment setting. This is my business, right? I ran an appointment setting agency, and this is what I used to get to the first 50K. So I was running this, and the way that I was signing clients was purely through cold email when I first started out. So I'd email these agencies, they'd be very skeptical. It's like some random guy from South Africa as well, emailing you, promising you more leads. So I'd have a brief conversation via email, and I'd actually get them onto a call. But the problem was, when they got onto the call, by the time they got there, it was like I was waiting a whole day preparing for this call. I was ready, I was sitting there 10 minutes before the meeting. Then they join, and they're like, what's this for again? Who are you again? Can you just explain this? It was so annoying, because it's like you're waiting for this meeting all day and they don't even remember why they're there. So the sales call was prolonged for no reason at all, because they don't even remember who I am. So the entire call, I'm building up, this is who I am. I sent you this email. They're like, oh, okay. I get emails like this all the time. Bruh. So I'd be re-explaining who I am. I'd be re-explaining what we do, walking through case studies, answering tons of questions. And by the end of the call, they didn't even trust me. So I'd be pitching my product at a point where they just met me. They're like, I don't even know who this guy is. Why am I going to sign up? So then I pitch them, and then they're like, oh, I need to talk to my partner, or oh, I need to think about it, or all these other things where it's just an indication of lack of trust. As a side note, if you're talking to a prospect and they're like, I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my partner, a lot of the times they don't even have a partner. Understand this. People will say they need to talk to their partner. They don't even have a partner. They just don't trust you. Simply put. And I was in the same situation. They just don't trust you enough. So if they're ever saying that, it's an indication of lack of trust. And this is what I noticed. So I would constantly do this. I would sign some clients, but it would take forever. And it was so long, and I'd have to get onto 10 follow-up calls. But the shift came when I started posting on YouTube. I started posting content. And what happened was, the content is super simple. It is terrible videos, Loom videos would be some buzz cut. It looked terrible. It sounded terrible. But it still built the trust. So what happened was I'd make these, goofy videos with me on Loom, bald head, all that. And I would just be walking through some tips, like similar to this, but just much worse. So I'd be explaining how you can sign clients, how you can book meetings, how you can build better offers, explaining who I am, case studies, all of this. And prospects would watch it before the call. So even if I emailed them from cold email, they'd watch these before the call. And they'd already know who I am. They'd get onto a call saying, hey, Ethan, nice to meet you. I watched your YouTube videos. Like, I understand what you do. It sounds great. Can you just tell me like the details? I'm like, yeah, sure. Perfect. So I cut down the sales cycle so much because they already knew who I was. There was already trust. So what you want is to be in a situation where every single person that comes onto a call knows who you are, right? People, they already know you, they already like you, they already trust. So I would recommend, this is what we do for our clients right now. We recommend that everyone starts creating these long form pieces of content to the point where I've even created modules, an actual course in my program right now that helps agency owners to add an extra 50K while automating the agency, a whole lot of other stuff. But again, if you want to check that, you can, it's in the description, but let's continue with the video. So I've even created modules on how to actually start on YouTube, how to use it to use these assets. Like, you don't need a million subscribers. You just need the videos on there. Like, my first videos had like 10 views on them, but they worked because those views were the prospect, right? I'd recommend that you implement these long form conversions, having these processes in your, sales system, so that prospects can understand who you are before you even speak to them. The next tip is using soft call to actions. Now, I first heard of this when I was running an outbound campaign for one of my clients. So to give you context, I was running the appointment setting agency. We would use cold email to help agencies get more clients, right? Very simple. So I'd be running these outbound email campaigns, trying to get bookings for my clients. And what happened was I had a client who was running an e-com agency, and this niche is notorious for being super difficult because it's so saturated. Like, there's so many people in there. So I was struggling, and what happened was, I was in this state of like anxiety. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So like overwhelmed. And then my client was asking, like, how are we going to get results? And I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. What happened was I went onto YouTube and I was, looking up how to improve cold email, right? Because for all the other clients, it is fantastic, but for this one, it was so difficult. So I was looking for ways to improve it. And all the YouTube videos were saying like, oh, you've got to come across as like the alpha. You've got to like, stand out from everyone else by being super assertive. So they were like, in the cold emails, just be like, hey, like, I'm available at 10 p.m. Let's talk. And they would just like put the times there or like a Calendly link. And I tried it, like, as naive as I was, and it just didn't work. I was like, yeah, of course it didn't work. What ended up happening was I did the complete opposite. So instead of sending my email super direct, super assertive, being like, hey, book a time now. Like, you need this more than me. Like, bro, I don't even know how that would work. But what I did was, at the end of all of my emails, so I'd start the email very basic. I'd say, hey, I'm the growth manager at this company. I'll go into the office, so we help these companies do this. These are some case studies. But I'd end every email with, would you be open to more info? As opposed to, let's talk on Saturday. So it was a very low barrier to entry. Like, who's going to say no to more info? There's no real risk. There's no real, like, they can't lose anything. So at the end of the email, it would say, would you be open to me sending some more info? And what happened was, man, the positive response rate just shot up because everyone was like, yeah, send more info. And by doing that, it got the reply. And the thing is, 99% of people sending outreach to these companies, they don't get the reply. So immediately by doing this, you stand out, you get to the next step. And now whatever you send beyond this has so much more potency. So after this message, after offering more info, I would just send a standardized text message after that. And by text message, I don't mean like a WhatsApp or a SMS. I mean, like, I would just say, I wouldn't send like a Loom, I wouldn't send like a YouTube video. I would literally just say like, repeating the offer. So we help these companies to do this. I'll be happy to go into more detail on a call. Would you be open to a call? And then they'd be like, yeah. So let's say for every 100 messages I sent in the past, I would get 0 bookings or 0 responses using the YouTube approach. When I did it with this strategy, I was probably getting like 5 to 10 positive responses. So imagine every 100 messages you send, you get 10 replies, and they're all positive and they all want to book. Like, that's massive. That's a massive jump. So that change allowed me to, skyrocket my outreach, and I've used this across every single account from that point. So if you're doing outreach, always end what you're doing with the softest possible call to action so that you can just get the yes and take them through the next step. Now, the fourth tip to sign more clients is very simple, but it's following up more. Now, I first heard this when I was trying to improve, the results for our client, and one of the major bottlenecks in the process was the positive response to booking. So how many people from replying positively actually booked a meeting? That's the number I was trying to get up. We had it around 20%, but I wanted to get to like 30, 40%. So what happened was I was talking to my good friend Charlie. He's making like $1 million a month, Charlie Morgan. And I was asking him about his follow-up process. And what he mentioned was he follows up with every lead that replies positively 7 times. I'm like, 7 times, really? He's like, yeah, man, just rip it. Like, so I used to follow up like once or twice, after they respond positively. I offer more info, they say yes. I offer sometimes and they don't reply. So what Charlie did was he would follow up 7 times. So that's 3 times more than what I'm doing. So even though I didn't get 3 times more results, I definitely got a massive increase, like 10, 20% more booking. So one of the easiest ways to just book more meetings is to genuinely just follow up more. And the 5th tip to book more meetings and sign more clients is to leverage social platforms. And honestly, from what I predict, and I've been doing cold email like for a long time, it's been the staple, the foundation of my business. I think the future of outbound, of signing clients, is through these social platforms. But I don't think cold email is going to last. I don't think it's going to be a viable method going into the future. And the reason is because it's so transactional, right? There's no compounding benefit that you get from cold email. And I first realized this was when I was doing the cold email versus implementing LinkedIn. So again, when I started in the agency, I started with email. Then I started posting content, right? And because of that, I thought, let me go to a platform as well where I can put this content on. So I used LinkedIn because that's where most of my niche was. I was working with agencies. So because of that, I went onto there and I would post, short pieces of content every day, just giving some tips, giving some advice. And what I realized was I was getting 50% of calls from cold email, 50% from LinkedIn. And as I was doing that, man, like the type of calls that I had from LinkedIn versus cold email was completely different. The ones from email, they were so how do I say, they were so annoying in the sense that they didn't know who I was. They forgot why they were there. It was super transactional. I didn't know who I was. And it was just so much explaining. I was like, look, I don't have the time to do all this again for the 5th time today. But the calls from LinkedIn, they were like, hey, Ethan, good to see you again. I've been seeing all your content. It's great to hear from you. I know what you do. I like you. Keep up the great work. Let's talk about it. That's literally how the calls went. In the sense that people knew me, they liked me, they trusted me, and they wanted to work with me because they've been seeing me over and over and over by posting content. So the easiest way to sign more clients is to get onto a place where everything that you do compound. And social platforms are the best. Because let's say you don't close a client. Right? You get on a call, it doesn't make sense, but they still follow you. So every single day, they're going to be seeing your wins. They're going to be seeing your case studies. They're going to be seeing how you're growing over time. And this is something you don't get with email. This is something you don't get with cold calling, in that nothing's compounding, nothing's building. But when you have the social presence and that's building alongside getting results, it just means that your life is going to be progressively easier over time because everything that you do is getting more effective. You're essentially building this entire audience of people who potentially want to work with you. And by doing that, you're putting yourself in the best position possible. So if you found this video useful, subscribe for more. And if you want more info on potentially working with me one-on-one, you can just check the description below. It should give you some more info, no pressure at all. But either way, I'll talk to you in the next video.